After working overtime and returning home, my husband suddenly told me he had fallen in love with someone else. I just want a divorce to be with her. Even if it means leaving with nothing, he said. I stared at the divorce agreement on the table. Suddenly, I felt a sense of relief. Okay, I agree, I replied. Fondness for the new and disdain for the old is human nature. I'm no different. Kevin stared at me in astonishment. You just agreed like that? I sneered, unable to hide the mockery in my tone. What else did you expect? Oh, so you think I should have gone insane demanding to know who that woman is, right? Or maybe I should have sobbed and begged you not to leave, begged you not to get a divorce, huh? You'd rather leave with nothing just to divorce me, yet somehow still wish I'd beg you to stay. So do you actually want the divorce or not? Having an internal battle between your left and right brain? Kevin was left speechless. I ignored him, picked up the divorce agreement, and began to read it carefully. Once I confirmed there were no issues, I reached for my bag to get a pen. Earlier, Kevin had been in such a hurry to drag me inside that I hadn't even had time to hang my bag on the door. I had just returned home after working overtime, not even having a chance to eat a warm meal. He didn't even ask why I was back so late, he went straight to bringing up divorce. I've had enough of this cold, lifeless routine. I pulled a pen out of my bag and smoothly signed both copies of the divorce agreement. After capping the pen, I stared at the severely faded fountain pen in my hand. This was the gift Kevin gave me for our first anniversary, bought with half a month's earnings from his part-time job. After nearly 20 years of use, it was worn out and shabby. It was high time for a new one. I threw the pen into the trash can. Let's get the paperwork done tomorrow morning, I said, then walked away without looking back. I went to my daughter Yvette's room. She turned her back to me, burying herself under the blankets. I walked over and sat down on the edge of her bed. You're not really asleep, I know you saw everything. After a long pause, she finally turned over and sat up, her eyes red and swollen. Mom. Dad doesn't want us anymore, does he? I sighed inwardly. Having lived almost 40 years, I'd witnessed my share of partings and farewells, enough to accept separation swiftly. But Yvette was just 12. In her world, her parents were her entire sky. After Kevin and I separated, no matter whom she stayed with, half of that sky would collapse. But she is also a part of our family. She should know about all the changes in the house. I confessed to her, yes, Dad asked me for a divorce, and I agreed. But we just won't be husband and wife anymore, we will still be your loving parents. Yvette looked at me. Tears gushed out like a breached dam. Mom, I'm sorry. She covered her face. Tears streamed through her fingers. I was confused. Shouldn't apologies be my line? I quickly pulled her hands away from her face. Gently, I wiped her tears dry. What's wrong? Why are you suddenly apologizing to me? Yvette was sobbing uncontrollably, her shoulders heaving. Last time Daddy came to pick me up from school, he came with a pretty auntie. Dad said the auntie is his secretary, but when Dad was driving, she kept leaning into him with her hand on his thigh. I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to lie to you. I just didn't know how to say it. I clenched the sheet tightly. My gaze grew colder by the inch. How dare Kevin? How dare he parade himself in front of Yvette? I exhaled a heavy breath, my heart aching as I pulled her into my arms. Yvette, this isn't your fault. Anyone would struggle with this situation. If it were me, I'd feel the same way you do. Yvette loosened her grip on me. Her teary eyes looked up at me pitifully. Mom, do you still want me? I paused for a moment. Raising my hand, I gently stroked the back of her head. With a smile, I replied, it should be me asking you, would you still be willing to stay with me? Yvette sniffled and nodded eagerly. I pinched her little cheek. All right, you have school tomorrow, so go to bed early. She obediently lay down. After coaxing her to sleep, I turned off the light and left the room. The next day, Kevin and I went through with the divorce proceedings. Kevin also began packing his things, preparing to move out. Neither Yvette nor I offered to help him. We treated each other as if we were invisible. But that evening when I returned from work, Kevin stopped me. "Your mom called me today." My heart suddenly leaped into my throat. She said Ryan lost his job and wanted me to help him by getting him a position at my company. It wasn't a big deal for me, so I agreed, but I thought I should let you know. Before he could finish speaking, I had already taken out my phone and dialed my mom's number. I even put it on speakerphone. The call connected almost immediately. "Mom, let Ryan figure out his own job situation. Kevin and I are already divorced, stop reaching out to him from now on." "Divorced? When did that happen? Why the divorce?" "Elaine, you." I knew what she was about to say. Nothing more than urging me not to get divorced. After all, she liked Kevin as a son-in-law more than she liked me. So I immediately cut her off. "Kevin has someone else now. We're divorced, it's over, got it?" There was a brief silence on the other end of the call. I seized the moment to hang up. When I looked up, I saw Kevin's face flushed with anger. Clearly, he hadn't expected me to be so blunt with my mother. My phone vibrated. It was Mom calling. I rejected the call and stood up to leave. Even if we were going to argue, I didn't want to do it in front of Kevin. But he grabbed my wrist. "Elaine, it's just about giving Ryan a job, just a small favor. You don't have to refuse me and argue with your mom over this. My relationship with my mother has never been good, and I hate arguing with her. But what I hate even more is owing Kevin a favor. He used to be my husband, my family. Now that we're divorced, in my eyes he's just the father of my child. Other than that, he's no different from a stranger." I forcefully shook off his hand. "I'll handle this matter myself, you don't need to interfere." He blocked my way, his voice filled with confusion and even a hint of anger. "You'd rather fight with your mom than accept my help? Why?" I sighed. Suddenly, I chuckled. "Do I need to remind you that we're divorced?" Kevin's face turned deathly pale. "Yes, we're divorced, but we spent 20 years together. Even if we're no longer husband and wife, can't we at least be friends?" I just found it ridiculous. "Being friends with your ex-wife, have you even asked the girl you're seeing now about that?" Kevin's ashen face crumbled inch by inch. He stood there, utterly stunned. The phone was still ringing. Busy with the call, I didn't pay Kevin any more attention and turned to head for the stairwell. I had just picked up the call when my mom's shrill voice nearly pierced my eardrums. "Elaine, be clear, did you really divorce Kevin?" "Yes, we're divorced." Mom was so frantic her voice cracked. "How could you divorce him? He's the boss of a major company now. You're almost 40, where are you going to find someone with such good prospects again? Besides, what man doesn't fool around outside? Just endure it a little and it'll pass, won't it? Look at me, didn't I endure the same way? Listen to your mom, don't get a divorce. If you do, you'll lose everything." Suddenly, I felt like crying. My philandering father seemed to be standing right in front of me again, watching indifferently as my mother pleaded desperately for him to stay. I once tried to persuade my mother to divorce. But she hadn't worked since getting married. If she divorced, she couldn't even support herself, let alone my younger brother and me. So even if she had to beg my father for money, she wouldn't divorce and give the advantage to other women. She remained trapped in this rotten marriage, wasting away her years until my father passed away. A derisive laugh escaped my lips. "So I should endure it for life, just like you?" Silence fell on the other end. When the voice spoke again, it was edged with impatience. "What else can you do? Isn't life about enduring? Besides, if you divorce Kevin, what happens to your brother?" I knew it. It all circled back to Ryan. After all, Kevin, the son-in-law who brought her so much face, had helped Ryan multiple times. How could she bear to let that go? "Then why don't you have Ryan move in with Kevin? After all, once I've divorced him, the position of wife will be vacant, and Ryan can just step right in. I have no patience to listen to her nagging. And even less interest in arguing with her. I immediately cut her off. I'm not you. I don't have to endure. Even after the divorce, I can support myself and our child just fine. Divorce is something I'm informing you about, not discussing with you. It won't affect the $2,000 alimony I give you every month. As for how you spend that money, that's up to you. Don't expect a single penny more. I hung up. Leaning against the wall, I tilted my head back and exhaled. But the tears still came. I wiped them away before returning inside. Such is the world of adults. Even crying must be done in secret. My mom called me a few more times after that. Every conversation revolved around getting Ryan a job. But as a fully capable adult, there's no reason he can't survive on his own. I refused to help. Seeing how resolute I was, she had no choice but to drop the matter. Kevin moved out. On the night he left, I heard Yvette crying in her room. I didn't go in to disturb her. Children have their own world too. And emotions they need to let out in private. The cooling off period passed day by day. Kevin and I hadn't contacted each other since. Until one day after my meeting. My muted phone showed dozens of missed calls, all from Kevin. And his message, I'm downstairs at your company. Come down and find me when you see this. For Kevin to rush to the office to find me, it must be something serious. I hurried downstairs, and as soon as I reached the lobby, I saw him pacing back and forth by the entrance. I walked over. What's going on? He was about to speak when a coworker coming in greeted me, interrupting him. Hello, Director Elaine. Kevin was suddenly stunned. He stared at me wide-eyed. When did you get promoted to director? I replied calmly, last year. Why didn't I hear you mention it at all? I lowered my gaze. A few years ago, when I was promoted to manager, I came home overjoyed to tell him. But all he said was a faint congratulations, with no other reaction. I still remember the year I was promoted to deputy team leader. He was even happier than I was and insisted on celebrating. Kevin, who usually wouldn't spend more than $20 on a meal, dragged me to order hundreds worth of food that day. But at some point, promotion stopped being celebrated. Wedding anniversaries became just a formal bouquet of flowers. Even something as simple as a happy birthday to each other disappeared. We no longer went shopping or watched movies on weekends. Even sharing a meal became eerily quiet. We stopped asking about each other's work. Beyond our child, it felt like we had nothing left to talk about. In that kind of situation, what difference did it make whether we spoke or not? I suddenly felt an inexplicable weariness. I didn't want to argue with Kevin either, so I changed the subject and asked him, You came looking for me in such a hurry, what's the matter? Kevin hesitated, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly. After a moment, he finally spoke, My mom just called me. It's her birthday this weekend, and she wants the whole family to have dinner together. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Just because his mother's birthday dinner was coming up, he rushed all the way here to my office building to see me? I had no idea what he was up to, but I couldn't be bothered to ask. All right, I'll let Yvette know. You can come pick her up when the time comes. After speaking, I wanted to leave. Kevin grabbed me again. I glanced at him and then lowered my gaze to his hand tightly gripping mine. Only then did he release me, looking embarrassed. What I mean is, you should come too. I frowned tightly. What do you mean? Didn't you tell Mom about our divorce? Kevin hesitated and said, Well, about our divorce, could we not tell Mom for now? His voice was almost pleading. Mom has high blood pressure, I'm afraid she can't take the shock. Then why didn't you think of that when you filed for divorce? Kevin fell silent and awkwardly lowered his head. I sighed softly. Back when Yvette was born, I was swamped and racing to re-establish my footing at the company. Kevin was absorbed in his startup again, tending to his newly thriving company. It was my mother-in-law who stepped in to help us with childcare, lifting a huge burden off our shoulders. However, in the past 2 years, her health had significantly declined. To avoid becoming a burden, she moved into a nursing home. My mother-in-law had always been very kind to me. I held great respect for her and certainly didn't want anything bad to happen to her. I'll agree just this once. You better find the time to explain the divorce to Mom before we sign the papers. Kevin let out a deep sigh of relief. Elaine, thank you. I merely nodded slightly without saying much and went straight upstairs. Over the weekend, I took Yvette to the nursing home. Kevin was already waiting at the entrance. We went in together. My mother-in-law was delighted. After a while, she held Yvette's hand to give her a red envelope. Then she took my arm and asked about my well-being warmly. The atmosphere in the room was joyous and harmonious. Until a soft, sweet voice interrupted us. Mom, happy birthday. We all turned to look simultaneously. Standing at the doorway was a young girl, seemingly just 1 or 2 years out of college, youthful, pretty, and full of vitality. Kevin, however, was utterly stunned. He quickly stepped forward to block the woman from entering. Nina, what are you doing here? Yvette suddenly tugged at my sleeve, her face ashen. She leaned in close and whispered in a hushed voice, Mom, that's the young woman from Dad's car, the secretary. Before I could even process the shock, Nina, whom Kevin had tried to stop at the door, had already squeezed her way in. She walked up to my mother-in-law with a beaming smile. Mom, let me introduce myself. I'm Nina, Kevin's girlfriend. My mother-in-law froze. Kevin turned pale. He grabbed Nina's hand and started dragging her out. Nina, leave. Get out now. Nina was displeased. She yanked her hand free from Kevin's grip. What's the matter with you? It's your mom's birthday, and you brought your ex-wife but not me, now you're trying to kick me out. I don't care, I'm staying right here. As she spoke, she shot me a fierce glare. My mother-in-law's expression darkened. She wasn't a fool. She could read between the lines of Nina's words. Kevin, explain yourself clearly. Did you divorce Elaine? Kevin was at a loss. Even speaking became difficult for him. His voice was as weak as a whisper. Mom, I'll explain later. Nina cut him off directly. Why wait to explain? Just make it clear now. Mom, they've already completed the divorce procedures. Once the cooling-off period is over, they'll get the divorce certificate. Her mother-in-law's chest heaved violently. She glared at Kevin, then pointed at Nina and demanded sharply, Is this the woman you've been keeping outside? Kevin pursed his lips without speaking. Nina pouted, looking displeased. Mom, don't say it like that. What do you mean by someone on the side? Kevin is already divorced, and I'm now his legitimate girlfriend. Besides, they've long lost feelings for each other. Right now, Kevin and I are the ones truly in love. A loud slap echoed as a resounding slap landed heavily on Kevin's face. Nina let out a frightened scream. Heartbroken, she gently touched Kevin's flushed cheek. Her delicate voice was full of grievance. Mom, why are you hitting me? But her mother-in-law didn't even glance at her. Her eyes, fixed on Kevin, were filled with disappointment and fury. You wretched boy. Of all the bad habits to pick up, you had to learn from your damn father. Back then, Kevin's father had an affair and abandoned his wife and son for the other woman. He never even paid child support. Raising Kevin alone had been an immense struggle for his mother. All her life, she harbored the deepest hatred for women who wrecked families and men who strayed outside their marriages. The son she raised single-handedly had actually become a carbon copy of the very husband who had hurt her the most. She couldn't accept it. Her vision darkened, and she collapsed straight backward. In a frantic scramble, we rushed her to the hospital. It was a heart condition triggered by high blood pressure. Fortunately, we got her there in time. After emergency treatment, she stabilized. I took Yvette home with me and didn't return to the hospital afterward. After Nina's outburst, I finally understood. Kevin was willing to walk away with nothing just to divorce me. It was all because Nina was pushing him hard, desperate for legitimacy. But I never expected Kevin's taste to be this poor. It ended up tarnishing my reputation too. All I wanted was to stay as far away as possible. But Kevin had angered his mother so much that she refused to eat and even kicked him out. Left with no choice, he came to me, hoping I could help persuade her. I couldn't bear to see the elderly suffer, so I went. His mother took my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Elaine, you're so good, yet Kevin hurt you like this." "I'm sorry, truly sorry." My heart ached. She had always treated me like her own daughter. Through her, I had experienced a maternal love I'd never known before. She had done nothing wrong, so why was she the one apologizing now? She wiped away her tears. "Elaine, I won't stop you from getting divorced. Kevin is no longer worthy of you, and I hope you won't look back. In the future, find someone who truly deserves you." I was surprised. Never expected my mother-in-law to say something like that. Just as I was feeling moved, the door suddenly burst open. Nina forcefully yanked me up from the bedside. "How shameless can you be? It's over between you two, yet you keep haunting us like a ghost. Are you trying to rekindle things with Kevin under the guise of visiting Mom? Let me make this clear, Kevin doesn't love you anymore. He stopped loving you long ago. Do you understand? I've got a splitting headache from all this. Youth really is something, nothing but love and romance on their minds. But didn't Kevin promise to keep an eye on Nina and stop her from coming to the hospital? How unreliable can one person be? My mother-in-law is a patient. I couldn't very well curse in front of her. So I gently reassured her, "Mom, I'll head out now. Remember to eat and take care of yourself." Then I turned and hurried out of the ward. But Nina wouldn't let it go. She kept following me, yapping nonstop. I had no intention of engaging with her. Until she said, "Why don't you do yourself a favor and look in the mirror? A 40-year-old hag like you, just looking at you makes Kevin want to puke. I'm younger and prettier than you. What makes you think you can compete with me?" I couldn't help but stop in my tracks. Turning around, I looked at her like she was an idiot. "Do you think you'll never become a hag one day?" Nina lifted her chin. "Of course not." I burst out laughing. "Then your life must be incredibly short." Nina froze. Her aggressive stance weakened noticeably. "What did you say?" I said in a calm tone, "You mentioned that turning 40 makes a woman a hag. But if you never get to become one, doesn't that mean you won't even live to see 40? If that's not a short life, what is?" Nina was furious. She raised her hand to hit me, but someone shouted, "Stop." Kevin quickly stepped forward and pulled Nina away. "What are you doing?" he asked. Nina was utterly aggrieved. Huge teardrops fell instantly. "She said I have a short life," she cried. Kevin silently shielded Nina behind him. His stance was clear, he believed Nina. But I wasn't about to stay silent. "You started this." Back in the ward, your tone was already disrespectful. I held back out of respect for the elderly, but you had to chase after me just to call me a hag. I simply fought back. Kevin paled. You went to see Mom again?" Nina glared at him. "What, am I not allowed to visit her?" "Kevin, get this straight, I'm your girlfriend now. Am I really that embarrassing? Can't even show my face to your family?" Kevin let out a heavy sigh. "That's not what I meant." Seeing that the two were about to continue arguing, I simply walked away. Just as I reached the hospital entrance, Kevin actually ran after me. Out of breath, he said, "Well, Nina just has a straightforward personality. Don't take her words to heart. I apologize on her behalf. Unfortunately, I too speak my mind. It's quite clear whether it's a straightforward personality or a lack of manners, you know the difference." Kevin's lips quivered, but in the end, he said nothing more. I reminded him, when the cooling-off period ends, remember to pick up the certificate. Then I brushed past him and left the hospital. Soon, the cooling-off period arrived. I made plans with Kevin. It took him a long time to show up. I was startled. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, a faint stubble dusted his chin, and he looked utterly exhausted. I didn't think much of it, assuming he'd neglected himself while busy taking care of his mother. Just as I was about to enter, Kevin grabbed my arm. "Elaine, can we not get a divorce?" I was completely puzzled. He was the one who brought up the divorce in the first place. His mother didn't object either. And now he had Nina by his side. Why would he suddenly go back on his word? "What do you mean? You were the one who wanted a divorce, and now you say you don't? What do you take marriage for? Are you toying with me?" Kevin panicked and started stammering. "And no, that's not what I meant." His eyes suddenly turned red. Over these years, I've felt like I'm losing myself more and more. Every day when I open my eyes, it's either the company, the home, or the kids. It's like I don't even have my own life anymore. Until Nina joined the company. She's lively, passionate, innocent, and straightforward, as if she has endless energy. Watching her hike, surf, and dive, not caring about others' opinions, always being her truest self, I felt like I came back to life alongside her. I just gave in to temptation for a moment and got involved with her. But Elaine, I regret it now. I realize the one I truly love is still you. I don't want to get divorced. He gripped my shoulders with both hands. His bloodshot eyes were filled with regret. Yet, without hesitation, I slapped his hands away and suddenly struck him with a sharp slap across the face. Kevin froze. After all, since he brought up the divorce, my reactions had been rather subdued. But now, I had just given him a slap. I could hear my own voice trembling. "It's not that you still love me. You've just realized Nina's spontaneity isn't as ideal as you imagined. You've grown tired of her naive directness and now want to return to the comfort of home. But when you've had enough fun outside, you think you can just come home? Do you think you're a child? And do you really think you're the only one under pressure in this marriage? We paid off the mortgage together. On weekends, I didn't take a break, I went with you to client dinners instead. When our child was sick, I didn't sleep a wink either. How dare you say you couldn't resist temptation and ended up with Nina? Were you the only one facing temptations in this marriage? I had my own temptations too. But I remembered I was a wife, a mother. I have principles, and I stick to them. And you? You have no principles, no sense of responsibility, and no integrity." After venting it all out, I felt physically and mentally refreshed. In this marriage, I've contributed no less than Kevin. When he decided to start his own business, I also worked tirelessly to secure projects at my company. Because I needed to keep my job. If his venture failed, at least I could still support the family. Our child's health and education also fell on my shoulders. On weekends, I had to accompany him to social dinners while still making time for the kids. I must admit, the passion of our youth has long been worn down to almost nothing by the mundane busyness of daily life. When a colleague at the office brings me coffee every day and thoughtfully brews brown sugar ginger tea for me when I have period cramps. During meals, we always have endless topics to discuss, and we can't help but lean close to whisper to each other. I feel my heart flutter again and again, and I also want to enjoy the pleasure of this ambiguity. But when I return home, I sober up. This is the home we've painstakingly built step by step. Even though the love between Kevin and me has faded, I still choose to use what little love remains to keep our family together, even if such days are dull and uninteresting. As the saying goes, the tendency to like the new and loathe the old is human instinct, while loyalty and steadfastness are human choices. So when my colleague brought me coffee again, I still accepted it but transferred the full cost to him. I told him that my husband and I had already had coffee during breakfast, and there was no need to buy any more in the future. Unless it was work-related, I no longer went out for meals alone with my colleague. After work, we only discussed urgent matters and never personal issues. I worked hard to protect this home that seemed on the verge of collapse at any moment. Until Kevin brought up divorce. What little love I had left for him seemed to vanish suddenly. Only then did I realize, after struggling to hold on for so long, I'd been exhausted for ages. Perhaps my outburst had startled Kevin. He remained silent for a long while afterward. Just staring at me in a daze. As if he didn't recognize me, studying me over and over. I exhaled a heavy breath. Yet the suffocating weight in my chest remained. Even my voice came out muffled and dull. Kevin, once the arrow leaves the bow, it doesn't return. Divorce isn't your choice anymore. Today, we're ending this, whether you agree or not. Kevin ended up crying when he left. I just felt embarrassed and didn't want to admit he was my ex-husband at all. I strode straight to the garage, got in my car, and drove off. After the divorce, no longer having to force myself to maintain a relationship, I seemed to have a lot more energy. Work progressed smoothly, efficiency soared, overtime decreased, and even my bonuses increased. Yvette will start middle school after summer break. I now have time to help her adjust to the new environment step by step. Kevin occasionally visits Yvette and takes her out. Yvette told me that even after the divorce, Kevin insisted on breaking up with Nina. It took them over half a year back and forth to finally separate. After hearing that, I didn't feel much. It was like listening to neighborhood gossip. But Kevin came to the house more and more often. He said it was to see Yvette. In reality, he brought me gifts and flowers every time. He'd also use excuses to take Yvette to the movies, inviting me along. 20 years passed. The way he pursued me was still the same routine. It's just that I'm no longer the young girl I was 20 years ago. I thought Kevin would eventually give up. To my surprise, he persisted for 2 years, and only grew more persistent. Even Yvette began to find it annoying. She even worried I might actually be swayed by Kevin's advances. She nervously asked me, "Mom, you're not getting back together with Dad, are you?" I was playing Sudoku on my tablet and casually replied, "No." Yvette seemed to relax. "That's good. There's still hope for Uncle Sean then." I frowned. "What? Uncle Sean?" Yvette excitedly sat down next to me. "Yeah, Mom. Uncle Sean is so great, he's funny, witty, and knows so much. He'd be perfect as a husband." As she spoke, she lightly bumped into me and winked at me playfully. I looked at her helplessly. "It's you who wants him to be your daddy, isn't it?" Caught in her little scheme, Yvette stuck her tongue out at me mischievously. "Well, I want to be real sisters with Hannah. And I wouldn't mind having a new daddy either." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Indeed. Everyone prefers the new and loathes the old. But then I thought of Sean and suddenly set down my tablet, lost in thought. I first met Sean during a parent-teacher meeting in middle school. His daughter Hannah was Yvette's first desk mate after starting middle school. At the meeting, we naturally sat together. At first, seeing him dressed in a formal suit with a serious expression, I thought he was a rigid and old-fashioned guy. But after he initiated a conversation with me, I realized he was humorous and refined in his speech, far from being a stick in the mud. Learning that we were both single parents and that Hannah and Yvette got along so well, we gradually became good friends. My interactions with Sean also increased. We help each other pick up the kids when one of us is busy. We gather to celebrate the children's birthdays together. We take the kids out for fun. But every time, we only talk about the kids and nothing else. Until that day when the four of us went to see a musical and then went to a restaurant afterward. Hannah and Yvette ended up running off to try out a newly opened escape room, leaving us at the restaurant alone. That was the first time we didn't talk about the kids, just each other. He loves Sudoku, just like me. He also enjoys mystery movies and novels, especially Agatha Christie's works. We talked about so much, I can't remember it all now. The only thing I recall is how he made me laugh so hard, I could barely sit up straight. When Hannah and Yvette returned, we had already shifted from sitting face to face to leaning in close, whispering side by side. Only later did I realize that Hannah and Yvette were deliberately trying to set us up. They wanted to become real sisters, the kind listed on the same household register. But it seemed none of us were opposed to their matchmaking. Instead, our relationship entered that ambiguous space between friendship and romance. The doorbell suddenly rang, interrupting my train of thought. Yvette muttered, "Who is it? Coming so late at night?" She went to open the door and, seeing it was Kevin, her tone carried a barely noticeable disdain. "Dad? Why are you here so late?" Kevin was holding a bag in his hand. Beaming with pride, he held it up in front of her with a smile. "Didn't you say last time you wanted to try this bakery's cake? I went and got it for you." Yvette pouted. "Who eats cake this late? It'll make me gain weight." Kevin's smile instantly froze on his face. His eyes couldn't hide the disappointment. An awkward tension lingered between them. I had to step in to ease the situation. "Your dad went out of his way to bring you cake after work. You should say thank you." Yvette pouted. Only then did she say to Kevin, "Thank you, Daddy." I took the cake and handed it to Yvette. "Put it in the fridge for tomorrow." Only the two of us remained at the door. I had planned to use the late hour as an excuse for him to go home early, not wanting to let him inside. But he said he wanted to talk to me. So we went downstairs together in the neighborhood. Halfway there, he stopped. "Yvette has been mentioning someone named Sean a lot lately. Is he your admirer?" Kevin's burning gaze fixed on me, his eyes carrying a hint of fragility. I didn't answer him directly. "That's the father of Yvette's best friend." But Kevin wouldn't let it go. "Is he pursuing you?" It suddenly dawned on me. This was the real purpose of his cake delivery today. He always does this, using the kids as an excuse to harass me. In public, I didn't want to lose my temper. But I still retorted bluntly, "Isn't this none of your business?" Unexpectedly, Kevin got agitated. "How is this none of my business? You're trying to find a stepfather for Yvette now. Elaine, you've seen everything I've done these past 2 years, haven't you? I truly regret it and really want to win you back, to save our family. Rather than finding a stepfather for Yvette, why don't we remarry? After all, I am Yvette's biological father. No other man could love her more than I do as her daughter. Staying together is what's best for her." I stared fixedly at his anxious face. Irritation surged straight to the top of my head. "Since you claim to care so much about our daughter, let me ask you, do you even know what she likes?" Kevin's face was clouded with confusion. He remained silent for a long time. I nearly rolled my eyes out of my head. Currently, Yvette's favorite activity is doing puzzles, her favorite thing to watch is musicals, and she especially loves playing escape rooms. But look at the places you've been taking her to. Every time it's either an amusement park or a movie theater. The gifts you give her are nothing but stuffed toys, over and over again. But she's grown up now, she's not a 3-year-old child anymore. She has her own unique interests and hobbies. You claim no one loves her more than you do, yet you don't even know what she likes. How can you possibly love her like that?" Kevin was dumbfounded. Yet, he refused to give up. He forced an excuse, "It's just because we're living apart now. As long as we live together again, I can definitely do better than I am now." His eyes were slightly red. He gripped my hand tightly and implored me in a pleading tone. "Elaine, give me another chance. I truly want to make it up to you. As for Yvette, you have to believe me, only I, her biological father, will treat her well and never hurt her." A cool breeze swept lightly across my curled lips. Even my scornful laughter seemed to carry a layer of frost. "You won't hurt her? But when you brought Nina to pick her up from school and openly showed affection to Nina in front of her, you had already hurt her." Kevin froze, his face stiffening. The hand holding mine suddenly let go. This is the reason I could never forgive Kevin. It didn't matter if he hurt me or made me sad, but he couldn't let my child suffer. After our divorce, I often saw Yvette crying secretly in her room because she witnessed Kevin and Nina together but didn't know how to tell me. Even after she confessed to me, she still carried a heavy psychological burden. She felt that she had helped Kevin hurt me and owed me an apology. It took me a great deal of effort to persuade her to let go of this weight. Suddenly, I thought of Sean again. Yvette and Hannah enjoyed playing escape room games. He spent 3 nights studying strategies. Then he accompanied them to play. He would also collect all kinds of interesting puzzles and give them to Yvette. He even kept an eye on music theater tours and scrambled to get tickets for the 2 kids. Sean was indeed a better father than Kevin. Maybe, as Yvette had said, he was also better suited to be a husband. I snapped back to reality, only to see Kevin flushed with anger. He looked even more agitated than before, his eyes nearly bulging out of their sockets. "Can you guarantee this man won't hurt her? Elaine, you can't be so selfish, you can't rush to find her a stepfather just for your own happiness." I laughed. "Who does he think he is? Trying to control me. That's still better than you rushing to find her a stepmother before even getting divorced." Kevin abruptly avoided my gaze, looking thoroughly embarrassed. My patience had run out too. "Kevin, I said everything I needed to say 2 years ago when we got divorced. If you want to see the kids, if you want to care for them, I won't stop you. But if you're trying to use them as an excuse to talk about getting back together, then my home won't welcome you in the future. And my personal life is none of your business." I didn't spare him another glance. Turning on my heel, I walked away, even when I faintly heard the sound of sobbing. I didn't look back. I arrived downstairs at the apartment building and received a message from Sean. "Elaine, Hannah, and I are planning to go to the beach and would like to invite you and Yvette to join us. Are you free tomorrow?" Then, another message from Hannah popped up on the phone. "Aunt Elaine, you must come tomorrow. Dad has something to say to you." I burst out laughing. What a coincidence. I also have something to say to Sean. I replied to Sean, "Sounds good, see you tomorrow." Then I sent another message to Hannah, "I'll be there tomorrow." I looked up. The moon was full. It was time. Time to try someone new. Early the next morning, as Yvette and I stepped out of the car, we saw Sean waving at us from the beach. He wore a simple white shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his forearms. The sunlight fell on him as if casting a soft glow over his figure. Hannah had already rushed over, grabbing Yvette by the hand, and the 2 of them chattered away as they ran off into the distance. He walked toward me with a slightly awkward smile, carrying 2 iced coffees in his hand. "Thought you might be hot, here, have a sip." I took it, my fingertips brushing against his, their temperature slightly warmer than the coffee. We walked side by side toward the beach, the 2 little girls chasing waves ahead of us, their laughter carried far away by the wind. After walking for a long time, he suddenly stopped and looked down at me. "Elaine, I've been holding this in for almost a year. If I don't say it today, I might never have the courage again." He took a deep breath, as if forcing something out from the depths of his throat. "I like you. Not just as a friend, but the kind where I want to watch sunrises and sunsets with you, where I want to wake up to see you every morning, the kind where I want to officially make Hannah and Yvette sisters. I know you've been hurt before, and I'm in no rush for an answer. But I need you to know that I'm serious. If you nod, I'll give the rest of my life to you and Yvette." The waves lapped at our feet one after another. I stared at him, but my eyes burned first. Not because I was moved, but because finally, someone had spoken the words I deserved to be loved well, so openly and with such conviction. I raised my hand and lightly touched his face. "Okay." He froze for half a second, as if he hadn't processed it. I stood on my toes and kissed him. "Sean," I said, "okay." He suddenly pulled me into his embrace with such force it felt like he wanted to press me into his bones. I could hear his heartbeat racing wildly in his chest, mingling with mine until it was impossible to tell whose was whose. In the distance, 2 little girls suddenly shrieked and came running back. "Aha!" What did I just see? My dad just kissed her. Yvette, your mom said yes. We're really going to be a family now. Holding hands, they jumped around like startled rabbits before dashing off again to set off fireworks. Sean looked down at me, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Elaine, thank you for being willing to try again. I hooked my arms around his neck, my voice soft but firm. No, thank you, for making me believe. That being fickle can also mean losing interest in the old, until you find the right one and never want the old again. The sunset dyed the sea orange red, the wind still salty, yet everything tasted sweet to me. A fresh start begins now. As for that old chapter, I can finally close it for good.